Millionaire bumps into cleaning. Lady and discovers something that will change his life. Subscribe for more exciting stories. The morning sun filtered through the skyscrapers of Manhattan, creating a mosaic of light and shadow on the busy streets of New York. Lucas Mendoza, a 35-year-old Brazilian businessman who had carved out his space in the American financial market, hurriedly crossed the lobby of the imposing building where he maintained his office. Wearing an impeccably tailored Italian suit and carrying a leather briefcase, he repeatedly checked his watch, worried about the timing of his meeting with international investors. It was at this moment of rush that fate decided to intervene. As he turned abruptly towards the elevators, Lucas collided with someone. The impact caused several folders to fall to the ground, scattering papers all over the marble floor. Irritated by the setback, he bent down to collect his documents, but his hands met others, delicate and slightly rough from work. "I am sorry, sir," said a soft voice with a Brazilian accent. Lucas looked up and met the gaze of Marina Santos, a 25-year-old woman who worked on the building's cleaning team. Her brown hair was tied in a simple bun, and even in her work uniform, there was something extraordinarily authentic about her presence. "It was my fault," Lucas replied, surprising himself with his own sincerity. "I was distracted by the meeting." As they organized the papers, he noticed that Marina was carefully separating the documents, organizing them by date. "Do you understand financial documents?" Marina blushed slightly. "I study fashion at night, but I've worked in administration for a few years. I learned to organize documents at my old job in Brazil." Something in the way she spoke, in the dignity with which she carried herself even wearing a simple uniform, captured Lucas's attention. Momentarily forgetting about the meeting, he found himself asking, "Would you like to have coffee with me after your shift?" The invitation surprised them both. Marina hesitated, studying the businessman's face with a mixture of curiosity and caution. "Why would a businessman like you want to have coffee with a cleaner?" "Because you're the first real person I've met today," Lucas replied, without thinking much. "In this building, everyone seems to wear masks." Marina smiled, a genuine smile that lit up her eyes. "I finish at 5 p.m. I'll meet you at the corner cafe, Magnolias," said Lucas, standing up and helping her do the same. Only then did he remember the meeting. "I need to go, but I'll be there." Throughout the day, while conducting negotiations and analyzing reports, Lucas found himself thinking about the casual encounter. There was something refreshing about Marina's honesty, a quality that seemed increasingly rare in his business world. At 5 p.m. sharp, Marina entered Magnolia's, now wearing jeans and a simple but elegant blouse. Her loose hair framed a face that didn't need makeup to be beautiful. Lucas was already waiting for her, having changed his suit for a more casual shirt. "I thought you wouldn't come," Marina confessed, sitting down. "I always keep my promises," Lucas replied, realizing it was true. "Tell me about your fashion studies." The following hours passed like minutes. Marina talked about her dream of creating a clothing brand that celebrated diversity, while Lucas shared stories about his journey since leaving Brazil. They discovered that they both came from humble backgrounds and had built their paths with determination. "You know what's most interesting?" Marina asked, as the sky was already darkening outside. "How two Brazilians needed to come all the way to New York to meet." Lucas smiled, feeling something awaken in his heart. "Sometimes we need to go far to find what's close to our essence." When they said goodbye, both knew that this would not be their last encounter. New York, the city that never sleeps, had conspired to unite two hearts that, despite apparent differences, beat to the same Brazilian rhythm. What neither of them could imagine was that this casual encounter in the lobby of a building in Manhattan would be just the beginning of a story that would challenge not only social conventions, but also their own conceptions about love, success, and happiness. "Who is she, Lucas?" Victoria asked, approaching with her champagne flute. "She must be someone very special to make you smile like that in public." Lucas put away his phone, maintaining his composure. "I didn't know you were still monitoring my personal life, Victoria." "I just worry about you," she replied, adjusting her designer dress. "After all, we share the same social circle. It would be embarrassing if you got involved with someone inappropriate." Victoria's words carried a subtle venom, but Lucas was already immune. His encounters with Marina had shown him a world beyond appearances, where sincere conversations replaced power games. Meanwhile, Marina was facing her own challenges. On a particularly busy afternoon at fashion school, her professor praised her designs in front of the entire class. "Your sketches have a rare authenticity, Marina," the professor commented. "You manage to unite elegance and accessibility in a unique way." A classmate, curious, asked, "Is it true that you're dating that Brazilian businessman?" "The owner of Mendoza Investments." Marina felt her face flush. She and Lucas hadn't defined their relationship yet, but their frequent meetings at the cafe, walks through Central Park, and long conversations about their dreams had created something special between them. "We're friends," she replied diplomatically. The next day, during dinner at a discreet restaurant in the village, Lucas surprised Marina with a proposal. "I want you to know my world," he said, holding her hand across the table. "There's a charity gala next week. I'd like you to go with me." Marina hesitated. "Lucas, I don't belong in that world. I don't belong in that. I don't have appropriate clothes. I don't know how to behave at these events." "You belong by my side," he interrupted firmly. "And as for clothes, I thought about that too." Lucas handed her an envelope. Inside was a card from one of the most prestigious boutiques in the city. "I can't accept this," Marina protested. "Consider it an investment in a future designer," he smiled. "Besides, you can use this as inspiration for your designs." Marina's smile lit up the room, but a shadow of concern still lingered in her eyes. "Your high society friends won't like seeing me there." "They'll have to get used to it," Lucas replied, determined, "because you're part of my life now." At the boutique, Marina chose an elegant midnight blue dress, but without excesses. When she tried it on, the saleswoman commented that it seemed to have been made especially for her. What Marina didn't know was that Victoria had discovered about her visit to the store. With one phone call, the socialite began to articulate her plan for the charity event. "We need to show this Brazilian that not every fairy tale has a happy ending," Victoria said on the phone, talking to Ricardo Almeida, Lucas's partner, especially when Cinderella is a cleaner. Ricardo, who had long harbored veiled resentments against Lucas, saw an opportunity there. "Count me in, Victoria." It's about time Lucas learned some lessons about mixing business with pleasure. While plans against them were being hatched behind the scenes of high society, Lucas and Marina continued to build their relationship on more solid foundations: trust, respect, and mutual admiration. The city that never sleeps witnessed the birth of a love that defied social barriers, but the shadows of envy and prejudice began to form on the horizon, threatening the couple's happiness. The night of the charity event arrived, bringing with it a mixture of anticipation and apprehension. The Plaza Hotel's ballroom was dazzling, decorated with exuberant floral arrangements and soft lighting that reflected off crystal glasses. New York's elite circulated through the environment, displaying expensive jewelry and discussing their latest million-dollar acquisitions. Lucas waited anxiously at the entrance of the ballroom, nervously adjusting the tie of his tuxedo. When Marina finally appeared, he was left speechless. The midnight blue dress hugged her curves elegantly, and her hair was tied in a sophisticated bun that accentuated her delicate neck. "You look beautiful," Lucas whispered, offering his arm. Marina smiled, trying to disguise her nervousness. "Thank you. I feel a bit like Alice in Wonderland." As they entered the ballroom, eyes turned to the couple. Many expressed curiosity, others poorly disguised disapproval. Victoria, wearing a low-cut red dress, observed the scene from afar, her eyes narrowed in anger. Lucas guided Marina through the ballroom, introducing her to some of his associates. Most were polite, although their expressions revealed surprise upon discovering Marina's humble origins. "So you work in the cleaning sector?" one of the executives asked, with a condescending smile. Before Marina could respond, Lucas intervened. "Marina is a talented fashion student. I'm sure we'll soon see her creations on New York's runways." Marina felt a wave of gratitude for Lucas's support, but also a twinge of discomfort at needing to be defended. The night progressed without major incidents until Victoria decided to put her plan into action. Approaching the couple with a fake smile, she greeted Lucas effusively. "Lucas, darling. So good to see you," she said, completely ignoring Marina's presence. "We need your help. We're organizing a surprise auction to raise more funds, and we'd like you to conduct it." Lucas hesitated, looking at Marina. "I don't know, Victoria. I don't want to leave my date alone." "Oh, I'm sure your friend will find something to entertain herself. Victoria replied, casting a disdainful look at Marina. Perhaps she could check if the bathrooms are clean. The malicious comment hung in the air for a tense moment. Marina felt her face burn with shame and anger, but maintained her composure. Lucas, in turn, was visibly irritated. "Victoria, I think you—" he began, but was interrupted by Marina. "It's okay, Lucas," she said with surprising calmness. "Go help with the auction. After all, it's for a good cause." Turning to Victoria, she added, "As for the bathrooms, I'm sure the hotel staff is more than competent to keep them impeccable. But if they need help with interior design, I'd be happy to offer some suggestions." Victoria was momentarily speechless, not expecting such an elegant response. Lucas smiled proudly at Marina, admiring her strength and dignity. "I'll be back as soon as possible," he promised, gently kissing Marina's hand before following Victoria. Alone in the middle of the crowd, Marina took a deep breath, determined not to let the provocations ruin her night. She decided to explore the ballroom, admiring the architecture and the exhibited works of art. It was then that Ricardo, Lucas's partner, approached. "Miss Santos, isn't it? Allow me to introduce you to some people I'm sure you'll find her interesting." Without waiting for a response, Ricardo guided Marina to a group of socialites who received her with cold smiles. What followed was a series of seemingly innocent questions, but loaded with venom. "So, darling, which university did you attend before coming to the United States?" one of them asked. "Actually, Marina began, but was interrupted. "Oh, let me guess, Harvard, Yale," said another, laughing. "I bet she attended the best fashion schools in Paris," added a third, with false admiration. Marina felt the circle closing in, realizing too late the trap she had fallen into. But gathering all her courage, she raised her head and responded, "I studied in public schools in Brazil. I've worked since I was 15 to help my family and pay for my studies. And yes, now I study fashion here in New York, while working in cleaning. I'm not ashamed of my story, because each experience has made me who I am today." An uncomfortable silence settled over the group. Ricardo, realizing that his plan for humiliation wasn't going as expected, tried to change tactics. "Fascinating," he said with false sympathy. "But tell me, Marina, have you thought about the impact your presence might have on Lucas's reputation? Business is based on appearances, you know." Before Marina could respond, Lucas's voice thundered behind them. "The only impact on my reputation, Ricardo, would be if I allowed people like you to define who I should associate with." Lucas had returned early from the auction, sensing that something was wrong. Seeing the scene, he immediately understood what was happening. "Marina," he said, extending his hand to her, "what do you say we get out of here? I know a place where we can really have fun." With a smile of relief, Marina accepted Lucas's hand. Together they left the ballroom, ignoring the shocked looks and whispers that followed them. As they walked through the illuminated streets of New York, Lucas stopped and looked into Marina's eyes. "I'm sorry for all of this. You didn't deserve to go through that situation." Marina smiled, feeling stronger than ever. "Don't apologize. This night showed me that I can face any challenge, as long as I have you by my side." At that moment, under the lights of the city that never sleeps, Lucas and Marina sealed their commitment with a passionate kiss, leaving behind the world of appearances and embracing the authenticity of their love. But even as they celebrated their union, they couldn't imagine the even greater challenges that fate had in store for them. In the weeks that followed the charity event, Lucas and Marina became inseparable. The city of New York seemed more vibrant, as if reflecting the couple's joy. They explored different neighborhoods every weekend, from the art galleries in Chelsea to the ethnic restaurants in Queens. On a sunny Sunday afternoon, while walking hand in hand along the High Line, Marina shared exciting news with Lucas. "Remember that design contest I mentioned?" she said, her eyes gleaming with excitement. "Well, my project was selected as a finalist." Lucas hugged her tightly, spinning her in the air. "That's amazing, Marina. I knew you could do it. Your talent is undeniable." Marina smiled, but there was a shadow of concern in her eyes. "There's more," she continued. "The finalists are invited to an intensive summer program in Paris. 3 months at the École de la Chambre syndicale de la couture parisienne." Lucas's smile faltered for a moment, but he struggled to maintain it. "Paris? Wow, that's a unique opportunity." Marina nodded, biting her lip. "It's every fashion student's dream, but what?" Lucas asked softly. "But what about us?" she replied, her voice almost a whisper. "We've just started something so special. 3 months is a long time." Lucas took a deep breath, fighting against the selfish impulse to ask her to stay. "Marina, look at me," he said, gently holding her face. "This is your dream. You've worked hard for it. I can't and won't stand in the way of your professional achievement." Tears formed in Marina's eyes. "Do you really think I should go?" "I think you should fly," Lucas replied, kissing her softly. "And when you come back, I'll be here, waiting to hear all about your Parisian adventures." That night, as Marina slept peacefully in his arms, Lucas lay awake, contemplating the future. He knew the next few months would be a test for their relationship, but he was determined to support Marina every step of the way. The next morning, Lucas surprised Marina with a visit to her workplace. He found her cleaning the building's lobby, as she always did in the early hours of the day. "Lucas?" she exclaimed, surprised to see him so early. "What are you doing here?" He smiled, handing her an envelope. "I have something for you." Marina carefully opened the envelope, her eyes widening as she saw the contents. "A ticket to Paris?" "Lucas, I can't accept this." "You can and you will," he gently insisted. "Consider it an investment in the future of fashion. Besides," he added with a mischievous smile, "now I have an excuse to visit the City of Light." Marina hugged him tightly, too emotional to speak. When they finally separated, Lucas noticed that some of her co-workers were watching them curiously. "I think we've just given them something to talk about," he joked. Marina laughed, wiping away a tear. "Let them talk. I'm proud of who I am and what I've achieved." In the weeks that followed, Marina divided her time between preparations for the trip, her studies, and time with Lucas. She resigned from her cleaning job, a bittersweet decision that marked the end of a chapter in her life. Lucas, in turn, immersed himself in work, trying to distract himself from the impending separation. It was during a meeting with investors that he had an idea that would change not only his life, but potentially that of many others. "Gentlemen," he said, interrupting a discussion about percentages, "what if, instead of focusing solely on profits, we created a scholarship program for young talents in various areas?" The room fell silent for a moment until one of the older investors spoke. "Interesting, Mendoza. Go on." Lucas explained his vision, a fund that would not only offer financial support, but also mentoring and internship opportunities for young people from less privileged backgrounds. "Imagine the potential we could unlock," he concluded passionately. The idea was met with mixed enthusiasm, but Lucas was determined to make it work. He spent the following days refining the concept, inspired by Marina's journey. On the eve of Marina's departure for Paris, the couple had an intimate dinner at Lucas's apartment. The city sparkled outside, as if blessing them. "I have something for you," said Lucas, handing Marina a small box. Inside was a delicate pendant in the shape of a needle and thread. "So you always remember where you started and how far you can go," Lucas explained. Marina kissed him deeply, tears of gratitude in her eyes. "I'm going to miss you so much," she whispered. "This isn't goodbye," Lucas assured. "It's just a see you later. Paris doesn't know how lucky it is to have you." As they hugged, looking out at the city that had united them, both knew they would face challenges in the coming months. But they also knew that what they had was too special to let slip away. What they couldn't predict was that while they were preparing for this temporary separation, greater forces were in motion. Victoria and Ricardo, still resentful, were plotting behind the scenes. And an unexpected opportunity in Paris was about to test not only Marina's career, but also the strength of their love. The Parisian summer was at its peak when Marina arrived in the City of Light. The air was filled with the aroma of fresh croissants and the lively buzz of sidewalk cafes. Despite her excitement for the unique opportunity, she felt a tightness in her chest every time she thought of Lucas, thousands of miles away. Her student apartment, small but charming, was in the heart of the Marais. On her first night, exhausted from the trip but unable to sleep, Marina opened the window and let the Parisian night breeze caress her face. Taking her phone, she typed a message to Lucas. "The city is beautiful, but I miss you at every corner. I wish you were here to see all this with me." On the other side of the ocean, in New York, Lucas smiled as he read the message. He was in the office, working late to distract himself from Marina's absence. He replied immediately, "One day we'll explore Paris together. For now, be my eyes there. I'm proud of you, my love." The days in Paris were intense for Marina. The program at the École de la Chambre Syndicale was rigorous, with practical sewing classes, fashion history, and design occupying most of her time. But it was in her free hours that she found true inspiration, wandering the streets of Montmartre or observing the elegant window displays on Avenue Montaigne. On a particularly inspiring afternoon, while sketching designs at a café near the Luxembourg Gardens, Marina was approached by an elegant woman. "Excuse me," the woman said in French, "but I couldn't help noticing your drawings." "They are exceptional." Marina blushed, thanking her in her still hesitant French. The woman introduced herself as Isabelle Lefebvre, a renowned fashion designer. "You have a unique eye," Isabelle continued. "Would you like to intern at my atelier during your stay in Paris?" Marina's heart raced. It was an incredible opportunity, but it would mean even less free time, fewer moments to connect with Lucas. "Can I think about it?" Marina asked. Isabelle smiled understandingly. "Of course. Here's my card. I look forward to your answer soon." That night, during their daily video call with Lucas, Marina shared the news. "That's incredible, Marina," Lucas exclaimed, his face radiant with pride on the laptop screen. "You should accept." Marina hesitated. "But what about our time together? It's already so hard to find moments to talk." Lucas felt his heart tighten, but kept his smile. "Our love is strong enough to overcome this. I can't be the reason for you to refuse such an opportunity." After the conversation, Marina decided to accept the internship. The following weeks were a whirlwind of creativity and learning, but also of growing homesickness. Meanwhile, in New York, Lucas was facing his own challenges. His scholarship fund project was gaining momentum, but was meeting resistance from some more conservative investors. "Mendoza," one of them said during a tense meeting, "I understand your enthusiasm, but we're not in the charity business. We need to think about financial returns." Lucas stood firm. "It's not charity, it's an investment in the future. Imagine the potential for innovation we can unlock by giving opportunities to young talents." The discussion went on for hours, with Lucas passionately defending his vision. In the end, he managed to convince the majority, but he knew he had made some enemies in the process. Ricardo, his partner, seemed particularly displeased. "You're changing, Lucas," he commented after the meeting. "That waitress really messed with your head." "She's a fashion student," Lucas corrected, irritated. "And yes, Marina inspired me to be a better person." "Is there a problem with that?" Ricardo just shrugged and left, leaving Lucas with an uncomfortable feeling. Weeks turned into months. The distance was beginning to weigh on the couple. The video calls, once long and intimate, became shorter and sparser due to both of their commitments. On a particularly difficult night, after a stressful day at work, Lucas called Marina, but she didn't answer. Hours later, she returned the call, looking exhausted. "Sorry, I was at one of Isabelle's fashion shows. It ended late," she explained. Lucas tried to smile. "It's okay. I understand. How was it?" "Amazing!" Marina became animated, starting to describe the designs and the atmosphere of the event. As he listened, Lucas felt a pang of jealousy and insecurity. Marina's world in Paris seemed so vibrant, so distant from his reality in New York. "Lucas?" Marina's voice brought him back. "Are you okay?" "Yes, just tired," he lied. "I'm glad you're enjoying it so much." After hanging up, both lay awake in their respective beds, feeling the weight of the distance. Marina looked at the starry Parisian sky, questioning whether it was right to pursue her dream at the cost of her relationship. Lucas, in turn, stared at the ceiling of his Manhattan apartment, fighting against thoughts that perhaps he was losing Marina to a world to which he didn't belong. What neither of them knew was that their challenges were about to intensify. In Paris, an important fashion show was approaching, offering Marina an opportunity that could change her career forever. In New York, Victoria and Ricardo's machinations were beginning to bear fruit, threatening not only Lucas's project, but also his reputation. Their love was about to face its toughest test, and the decisions they would make in the coming days would shape not only their individual futures, but also the fate of their relationship. The autumn arrived in Paris, painting the Tuileries gardens in shades of gold and red. Marina walked hurriedly through the streets, her portfolio under her arm, her mind buzzing with ideas and concerns. The grand show of Paris Fashion Week was approaching, and Isabelle Lefebvre had given her an extraordinary opportunity to present a piece of her own design at the event. As she crossed the Place de la Concorde, Marina paused for a moment, looking at the Eiffel Tower in the distance. Her heart was torn between the excitement of the professional opportunity and the growing longing for Lucas. The calls between them had become rarer and tenser in recent weeks. Across the Atlantic in New York, Lucas was facing his own challenges. The scholarship fund project was finally taking off, but at a high personal cost. He spent sleepless nights, working tirelessly to ensure everything went according to plan. On a particularly hectic morning, Lucas was surprised by an unexpected visit to his office. Victoria entered, her expensive perfume filling the room. "Lucas, darling," she said with a calculated smile, "we need to talk." Lucas sighed, mentally preparing himself. "What can I do for you, Victoria?" She sat down, elegantly crossing her legs. "I'm worried about you. This charity project, social investment, is consuming all your time. And where is that friend of yours? Marina, isn't it?" Victoria's condescending tone when mentioning Marina didn't go unnoticed. Lucas felt a wave of irritation, but kept his calm. "Marina is in Paris, pursuing her dream. And the project isn't charity, Victoria. It's a way to create real opportunities for young talents." Victoria laughed softly. "Oh, Lucas, always the idealist. But have you stopped to think about what you're sacrificing? Your market reputation, your time, your relationship?" Victoria's words hit Lucas like a punch. He had already been struggling with similar thoughts in recent weeks. "I appreciate your concern," he said coldly, "but my personal and professional life are none of your business." Victoria stood up, adjusting her impeccable blazer. "I'm just trying to open your eyes, darling. Think about it." After Victoria's departure, Lucas sat lost in thought. He took out his phone, looking at the last photo Marina had sent, showing her designs for the fashion show. He felt a mixture of pride and fear. Was he losing Marina not only to distance, but to a world completely different from his own? In Paris, Marina was immersed in preparations for the show. Her piece, a dress that blended elements of Brazilian fashion with French haute couture, was almost ready. As she made the final adjustments, her phone rang. It was Lucas. "Lucas, is everything okay?" she asked, noticing the urgency in his voice. "Marina, listen to me," Lucas spoke quickly. "Something serious has happened here." "I'm being accused of embezzling funds from the project," Marina gasped. "But that's impossible." "I know, it's a setup, but I need time to prove my innocence," Lucas explained. "Marina, At that moment, Isabelle called Marina. "It's time, dear." Marina found herself torn between two worlds. On one side, her big chance, years of dreams about to come true. On the other, the man she loved, facing the worst crisis of his life. "Lucas, Go," Lucas said softly. "This is your moment. Don't let my problems ruin it." With a heavy heart, Marina hung up the phone and walked towards the runway. The lights came on, the music started, and she saw her dress, her creation, shine under the spotlights. But while the audience applauded and camera flashes went off, Marina's mind was thousands of miles away, with Lucas. In New York, Lucas entered the boardroom, facing accusatory and distrustful looks. He knew the next moments would define not only his professional future, but also his integrity and everything he had fought for. "Gentlemen," he began, his voice firm despite the internal turmoil, "before we start, I have something to say." The silence that followed was tense, full of expectation. Lucas looked directly at Ricardo, then at each of the investors. "I've been accused of something I didn't do, but I'm not here to defend myself. I'm here to fight for the project I believe in, for the young people who deserve a chance." As Lucas spoke, exposing his vision and his innocence, Marina was walking the runway in Paris, each step echoing the beats of her divided heart. At that moment, separated by an ocean but united by shared love and ideals, Lucas and Marina faced the greatest challenges of their lives. The decisions they would make in the next few hours would not only shape their individual futures, but test the true strength of their relationship. Fate had intertwined their stories in unexpected ways, and now at the peak of their respective journeys, they found themselves facing a choice that would define not only their careers, but who they really were and what they were willing to sacrifice for love. The fashion show in Paris was reaching its climax. Marina, still stunned by Lucas's news, walked the runway with a mixture of grace and concern. Her dress, a fusion of Brazilian and French elements, was causing a stir among the audience. Flashes fired incessantly, capturing every detail of her creation. Backstage, Isabel watched with a smile of approval. "She's a rough diamond," she whispered to one of the event organizers. Meanwhile, in New York, Lucas was facing his own battle. In the boardroom, he passionately expounded his vision for the scholarship fund while simultaneously refuting the accusations against him. "Gentlemen," Lucas said, his voice firm, "not only do I vehemently deny these accusations, but I can prove they are false." Ricardo, seated in the corner of the room, shifted uncomfortably. Lucas continued, "Over the last few months, I realized something was wrong. I began keeping parallel records of all transactions, records that couldn't be altered." He opened his briefcase, revealing a series of documents. "Here is the evidence that not only did I not embezzle funds, but that someone has been trying to sabotage the project from the beginning." The investors leaned forward, intrigued. Lucas spent the next few minutes detailing inconsistencies, showing suspicious emails and questionable transactions. "And most importantly," Lucas concluded, "all these fraudulent transactions were authorized by two people, Victoria Hamilton and Ricardo Almeida." A stunned silence fell over the room. Ricardo, pale, abruptly stood up. "This is absurd. You have no proof." "Yes, I do," Lucas countered, pulling out a flash drive, "including recordings of conversations between you two planning all of this." Chaos erupted in the room. Investors demanded explanations, lawyers were hastily called, and Ricardo, seeing himself cornered, desperately tried to deny everything. Back in Paris, the fashion show was ending with thunderous applause. Marina, receiving congratulations from Isabel and other renowned designers, felt torn between the euphoria of success and concern for Lucas. "Marina, darling," exclaimed Isabel, hugging her, "you were sensational. We must talk about your future. I have an incredible proposal for you." At that moment, Marina's cell phone vibrated. It was a message from Lucas. "I managed to prove my innocence. But the fight isn't over. I need you." Marina felt her heart tighten. She looked at Isabel, at the photographers surrounding her, at the world of glamour and achievement opening up before her. Then she looked again at Lucas's message. "Isabel," Marina said, her voice trembling but determined, "can I give you an answer tomorrow? There's something I need to resolve." Isabel, sensing the seriousness in Marina's tone, nodded understandingly. "Of course, ma chérie. Take your time." Marina rushed to her small apartment, her mind a whirlwind of emotions and thoughts. She immediately called Lucas. "Lucas, what's happening? Are you okay?" Lucas's voice sounded exhausted but relieved. "I'm okay, love. I managed to expose the truth, but the battle is far from over. Victoria and Ricardo are being investigated, but the project is at risk." Marina felt tears in her eyes. "What can I do?" There was a pause on the other end of the line. "Marina, I know it's asking a lot. Your success in Paris, your career. But I need you here. Not just for me, but for everything we've built. For all the young people we can help with this project." The silence that followed was deafening. Marina looked out the window, seeing the illuminated Eiffel Tower in the distance. Paris, the city of her dreams, offered her everything she had always wanted professionally. But New York had Lucas and a chance to make a difference in a way that went beyond fashion. "Lucas," she finally spoke, her voice choked, "I'm coming back." Marina's decision set off a series of events. In Paris, Isabel was devastated by the news, but promised to keep the doors open for her. In New York, the investigation into Victoria and Ricardo deepened, revealing a web of corruption that went beyond Lucas's project. When Marina landed at JFK Airport, Lucas was waiting for her. The reunion was emotional, full of tears, hugs, and silent promises. "Thank you for coming," Lucas whispered, holding her tight. Marina smiled through her tears. "Some things are more important than professional dreams. Some things are worth any sacrifice." Together, they left the airport, ready to face whatever came. The fight to save Lucas's project would be arduous. Marina's readjustment back to New York, after proving her talent in Paris, wouldn't be easy. But as they walked hand in hand through the busy streets of New York, both knew they had made the right choice. For in the end, the love they shared and the desire to make a difference in the world were stronger than any obstacle they might face. The future was uncertain, but for the first time in months they would face it together, stronger and more united than ever. The months that followed Marina's return were a roller coaster of emotions and challenges. The scandal involving Victoria and Ricardo had shaken New York's corporate world, and Lucas found himself at the center of a media storm. Interviews, testimonies, and endless meetings with lawyers filled his days. Marina, in turn, faced her own battles. The decision to leave Paris had been difficult, and there were moments when doubt consumed her. Had she made the right choice? But whenever she looked at Lucas, seeing his determination amidst the chaos, she knew she was exactly where she needed to be. One sunny morning, as they had coffee in their apartment overlooking Central Park, Lucas surprised Marina with a proposal. "What if we united our dreams?" he asked, his eyes shining with an idea. "The scholarship fund doesn't have to be limited to just the corporate world. What if we included fashion?" Marina put down her cup, intrigued. "What do you mean?" "Think about it," Lucas continued, excited. "We could create a specific program for talented young designers. Give them not just financial support, but also mentorship, industry connections." As Lucas spoke, Marina's eyes lit up. It was as if all the pieces of a puzzle finally fit together. "Lucas, that's brilliant!" she exclaimed. "We could even organize fashion shows to showcase these young talents' work." In the days that followed, Lucas and Marina worked tirelessly to refine the idea. They contacted renowned designers, fashion industry executives, and even some of Marina's old contacts in Paris. The response was overwhelmingly positive. Meanwhile, the legal process against Victoria and Ricardo followed its course. The evidence was overwhelming, and both ended up making deals to avoid more severe penalties. Lucas's name was completely cleared, and the respect he gained for exposing the corruption only strengthened his position in the market. 6 months after Marina's return, the couple was ready to officially launch the New Talents Foundation, a perfect fusion of their passions and skills. The launch event was held in a spacious loft in Soho, transformed into a gallery of fashion and innovation. Journalists, celebrities, and important figures from the fashion and business worlds circulated through the space, admiring the designs of the program's first beneficiaries. Marina, stunning in a dress of her own creation, guided guests, explaining the vision behind each piece. Lucas, in turn, chatted with potential investors and partners, his charisma and passion for the project evident in every word. At one point in the evening, he took to the improvised stage to give a speech. "A year ago, I thought I knew what success was," he began, his voice laden with emotion. "Numbers on a spreadsheet, record profits, newspaper headlines. But then fate gifted me with something far more valuable." His eyes found Marina's in the crowd, and he smiled. "I learned that true success is in making a difference, in giving opportunities to those who need them, in uniting passions to create something greater than ourselves. This foundation isn't just about fashion or business. It's about dreams, about believing in human potential." Marina felt tears in her eyes as Lucas continued, "And none of this would be possible without the extraordinary woman who not only inspired me, but had the courage to leave her own dream in Paris to build something even greater here. Marina, my love, this dream is as much yours as it is mine." The audience applauded enthusiastically as Marina took the stage, joining Lucas. The couple shared a passionate kiss, sealing not just their love, but also their commitment to the future they had chosen to build together. In the months and years that followed, the New Talents Foundation grew beyond the most optimistic expectations. Young designers from across the country, and eventually the world, found in it a platform to realize their dreams. Marina, with her experience and creative vision, became a respected mentor and an inspiring figure for many. Lucas, for his part, saw his desire to make a difference multiply in ways he had never imagined. The foundation's success not only transformed lives, but also inspired other companies to adopt more ethical and socially responsible models. On a quiet afternoon, years after the turbulent beginning of their journey, Lucas and Marina walked hand in hand along the High Line. They stopped to watch the sunset over the Hudson, reflecting on everything they had experienced. "You know," said Marina, leaning on Lucas's shoulder, "sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I had stayed in Paris." Lucas hugged her tighter. "And what do you think?" Marina smiled, looking at the golden horizon. "I think it would have been a good life, but this is extraordinary. I wouldn't trade it for anything." Lucas softly kissed her forehead. "Neither would I, my love. Neither would I." There, as the sky turned orange and pink, Lucas and Marina knew they had found something more precious than success or fame. They had found each other, and together they were building a legacy of love, creativity, and hope that would last far beyond their own lives. The sun finally set, but for Lucas and Marina it was just the beginning of another chapter in their extraordinary journey together. A journey that proved that, with love, courage, and determination, it's possible not only to realize dreams, but also to create something truly transformative.